A 28-foot center console just sold at auction for 12% of its original price. 73% of a popular cruiser model now needs repairs that cost more than the boat's entire value. Insurance companies are dropping coverage on 6 specific boat types without explanation. The market is not cooling gradually. It's collapsing instantly for 7 models that dealers promised would hold value forever. Why are these boats suddenly worthless when they were best sellers 2 years ago? And what warning signs did buyers miss that could have saved them $80,000? Do not click away, because one of these 7 boats might be sitting in your driveway right now. 20 years ago, buying a boat meant choosing from a small list of proven models. Boston whalers held value forever. Grady Whites were handed down through families. Even entry-level boats from trusted brands kept most of their price after 5 years on the water. The used market moved fast because buyers knew exactly what they were getting. A well-kept 20-footer could sell in days. Dealers took trade-ins without hesitation because they knew they could flip them for profit within a month. The entire system worked on predictability. Boats depreciated slowly and steadily. Buyers could count on getting half their money back after a decade of use. Sellers never worried about sitting on inventory. This stability attracted middle-class families who saw boats as long-term investments, not gambles. Production stayed modest. Dealers ordered what they knew they could sell. The market rarely saw wild swings in either direction. But that predictable world started cracking around 2010, and by 2020, it shattered completely. The first crack appeared when boat builders started chasing market share instead of quality. Companies that once built 20 models suddenly offered 40. They pushed into price brackets they had no experience serving. A brand known for fishing boats suddenly sold luxury cruisers. Another famous for pontoons started building performance boats. Production timelines got compressed. Boats that once took 6 months to build were rushed out in 10 weeks. Quality control steps got skipped to meet dealer demand. At the same time, manufacturers loaded boats with technology nobody asked for. Touchscreen displays replaced simple gauges. Digital switching systems took over basic electrical panels. GPS plotters became standard even on 16-foot boats. These additions drove base prices up by 30 to 40% between 2015 and 2020. The average new boat price jumped from $42,000 to nearly $68,000 in just 5 years. Buyers who once paid cash started taking 7-year loans. The boats themselves became harder to service. Simple repairs required dealer visits and diagnostic computers. Parts that once cost $50 now ran $300. And beneath all this, a supply chain nobody thought about started breaking. Resin suppliers consolidated. Engine builders faced chip shortages. Trailer manufacturers fell behind by months. Take the Sea Ray Sundancer 250. In 2018, this 25-foot cabin cruiser sold for $95,000 new. Dealers moved them fast to buyers who wanted overnighting capability without breaking 6 figures. Sea Ray built 1,700 units that year alone. The boats featured twin engines, a full galley, and enough electronics to navigate anywhere. Buyers loved them. Then problems started appearing. The digital helm system failed in 70% of 2018 models within 3 years. Replacement units cost $4,000 each. Engine access required removing interior panels that were not designed to come out repeatedly. Mechanics started charging triple labor rates just to reach basic service points. The fiberglass stringers in 80 units showed stress cracks by year 4. Repairs ran $20,000 per boat. Sea Ray issued a quiet service bulletin, but no recall. By 2022, owners started dumping these boats. Trade-in values fell to $35,000. By 2023, they dropped to $18,000. Today, a 4-year-old Sundancer 250 with low hours sells for $12,000 if it sells at all. That's an 87% loss in 5 years. Dealers will not touch them. Insurance companies flag them. Marinas see them abandoned at docks because the repair costs exceed the boat's entire value. Between 2020 and 2022, boat sales exploded. Manufacturers reported 60% increases in orders, and dealers could not keep inventory. Buyers paid over sticker price and waited months for delivery. Companies ramped production to levels they had never attempted. They hired inexperienced workers, sourced parts from new suppliers, and cut build times to maximize output. Brunswick built 43,000 boats in 2019. They built 71,000 in 2021. Tracker Marine went from 28,000 units to 49,000 in the same period. Dealers flooded their lots. They took on massive floor plan loans to stock every model in every color. Interest rates sat near zero, so carrying costs felt manageable. Manufacturers pushed dealers to order big, promising the boom would last years. And they offered incentives for bulk purchases. Some dealers tripled their normal inventory levels. Buyers during this period paid top dollar for boats built at breakneck speed. The quality suffered, but nobody cared because demand stayed hot. Then 2022 ended. Interest rates jumped. Gas prices soared. Insurance costs doubled. The buyers vanished almost overnight. Dealers sat on hundreds of unsold boats. Those units started aging immediately, losing value by the month. Dealers finance their inventory through floor plan loans. The bank owns the boats until they sell. Dealers pay interest monthly on every unsold unit. When interest rates were 2%, carrying a $50,000 boat cost $83 per month. Manageable. When rates hit 8%, that same boat cost $333 monthly. Suddenly, a boat sitting for 6 months burned $2,000 in interest alone. Multiply that across 200 unsold units, and dealers faced financial disaster. They started discounting aggressively. Boats listed at $70,000 got marked to $55,000, then $48,000, then $42,000. The discounts destroyed residual values across the entire market. A buyer who paid $80,000 in 2021 now owned a boat worth $45,000. They could not trade up without bringing cash to the table. Trade-ins stopped flowing. New sales stalled further. Repossessions started climbing. Marine lenders reported repossessions jumped 38% in 2023. Auction houses saw inventory triple. Boats that once brought 70 cents on the dollar now cleared at 40 cents. Some models did not sell at all. Banks started writing off entire portfolios. Dealers began closing. Smaller operations went first, but even major dealers shut down locations. The debt spiral fed itself. Modern boats carry technology that makes them nearly impossible to service outside dealerships. The Yamaha Helm Master System controls steering, throttle, and trim through digital processors. When it fails, the boat becomes undrivable. The replacement module costs $6,000. Installation requires certified technicians because the system must be calibrated to the specific hull. Independent mechanics cannot access the diagnostic software. Mercury's digital throttle system faces similar issues. A failed sensor shuts down both engines. The part costs $800, but labor runs 12 hours because the entire cowling must come off both engines. Garmin multifunction displays integrate with engine data, autopilot, and radar. When one component fails, the entire network goes down. Replacing a single screen often means updating 6 other devices at $300 each. Joystick docking systems rely on processors in each drive unit. One bad module disables the whole system. Repairs start at $4,000. These technology packages added $20,000 to $30,000 to boat prices. Buyers paid it willingly when boats were new. But once warranties expire, these systems become ticking time bombs. A 5-year-old boat might need $8,000 in tech repairs before you even address engines or gel coat. The complexity has made entire model years effectively worthless. Sea Ray led the collapse. Their Sundancer and Sport lines from 2017 through 2021 face catastrophic value loss. Industry data shows these models lost 70 to 85% of original value. Electrical problems and structural issues plagued nearly every example. Bayliner runabouts between 18 and 22 feet are now scrap value. The Element and VR series from 2018 onward suffer engine access problems and cheap hardware failures. Dealers report buyers will not consider them at any price. Four Winds bow riders built during the boom show deck delamination at alarming rates. Models from 2020 and 2021 need complete deck replacements by year 4. Repair costs exceed $25,000. Chaparral SSI models with outboard power face obsolescence because the specific engine mounts crack and no replacement parts exist. The boats are structurally sound, but mechanically impossible to repair. Regal 3300 models feature outdated Volvo drives that no shops will service. Parts supply ended in 2022. The boats run fine until something breaks, then they are done. Each brand faces unique problems, but the pattern stays consistent. Mid-range boats built during maximum production years from 2019 to 2021 carry the highest risk. These models now trade for 10 to 20 cents on the dollar. Mike bought a Bayliner VR6 in 2020 for $48,000. He took a 7-year loan at 5% interest. 3 years in, his engine failed. The dealer quoted $11,000 for repairs because accessing the engine required cutting interior panels. The boat was worth $19,000. Mike stopped making payments. The bank repossessed it 6 months later and sold it at auction for $7,000. Mike still owes $24,000 on a boat he will never see again. Sarah inherited a 2019 Sea Ray from her father. She tried selling it for 2 years. It started at $55,000. It dropped to $38,000, then to $22,000. She got one offer at $9,000. She paid to have it hauled to a salvage yard instead. Tom's Four Winds needs a deck rebuild. He paid $52,000 when it was new. The repair estimate came back at $28,000. The boat might be worth $18,000 after repairs. He cannot afford to fix it. He cannot afford to replace it. The boat sits covered in his driveway, making him sick every time he looks at it. These stories repeat across every coastal town. People are trapped in boats they cannot sell, cannot fix, and cannot afford to keep. The financial and emotional toll runs deep. Marinas report 30 to 40% increases in abandoned boats since 2022. Owners stop paying slip fees because they cannot sell or afford repairs. The boats sit for months until the marina claims them through lien processes. Then the marina has to pay for removal and disposal. Most marinas lack space to store these boats, so they pile up in back lots. Service departments face different problems. Mechanics report backlog hours dropping because fewer people are fixing older boats. When a repair costs more than the boat's value, owners walk away. Parts suppliers see orders declining. Independent shops close because volume cannot support overhead. Towns lose marine businesses that employed people for decades. Coastal economies built around boating suffer. Restaurants near marinas report fewer customers. Launch ramps see less traffic. Storage facilities have openings for the first time in 20 years. The ripple effect extends to boat shows, where attendance dropped 28% in 2023. Manufacturers cut booth sizes. Dealers send fewer staff. The entire industry contracted. Insurance companies raised rates or dropped marine coverage entirely. Lenders tightened requirements. Getting a boat loan now requires 25% down and excellent credit. The market that once felt accessible has become exclusive again. The reset path requires painful corrections that are already starting. Manufacturers must cut production by 40 to 50%. Some already have. Brunswick announced closure of 3 plants in 2023. Dealers need to clear aged inventory at whatever price moves it. Banks must write off bad loans and restart lending with realistic terms. Insurance companies need to stabilize rates. If these corrections happen over the next 2 years, the market could stabilize by 2027. Boat values would stop falling. Quality would improve as builders focus on fewer, better-made models. Buyers would return once they see value restored. The alternative path is darker. More dealers close. Major brands file bankruptcy. Entire model lines get discontinued, leaving thousands of boats orphaned without parts or service support. Repossessions continue climbing. Auctions flood with inventory that will not sell. Marinas face mounting abandoned boat problems. Coastal towns lose marine businesses permanently. The used market stays frozen because nobody trusts boat values anymore. New buyers avoid the market entirely. The industry shrinks to half its current size. Which future emerges depends on how quickly manufacturers and dealers accept losses and rebuild on realistic foundations. The data suggests we are heading toward a reckoning unless major changes happen soon. Watch dealer inventory age. If boats sit longer than 9 months, prices will drop further. Check auction results monthly. When boats start selling above 50% of retail value, the bottom is near. Track repossession filings in your state. When repossessions decline for 3 consecutive months, buyer confidence is returning. Monitor manufacturer production numbers. If new boat builds drop below 2019 levels, supply is finally matching demand. Watch interest rates on marine loans. When rates fall below 6%, financing becomes accessible again. Check insurance quotes quarterly. Stable or declining premiums signal insurers see less risk ahead. Visit marinas in spring. If you see fewer abandoned boats and more activity, the market is healing. Pay attention to parts availability. When common components ship in days instead of weeks, supply chains have recovered. Look at model year values. When 3-year-old boats hold 60% of purchase price, depreciation has normalized. These signals will not all appear at once, but when you see 4 or 5 of them align, conditions are improving. Until then, assume the market stays dangerous for these 7 boat types. The sun sets over a marina where 50 boats sit motionless at their slips. Half carry for sale signs that have faded in the weather. Nobody walks the docks. The only sound is halyards slapping against masts in the wind. These boats represented dreams once. Weekend getaways, family memories, freedom on the water. Now they represent debt, disappointment, and decisions their owners wish they could undo. The 7 boat types we covered today aren't just losing value. They're becoming warnings about what happens when markets move too fast and quality falls too far. The boats themselves aren't inherently bad. They're victims of timing, technology, and economic forces that turn them from assets into anchors. Understanding what happened to these models helps you avoid the same mistakes. It shows you what to watch for, and it reminds you that in boating, like everything else, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. If this breakdown helped you see the patterns, hit subscribe. We're tracking this market every week, and you need to know what's coming next.